All right, don't you love that new that new notification they give? Anyway, welcome. Today we're going to talk about the power of small questions. So I love this quote because once we can figure out which questions to ask and when to listen, the rest just becomes easy. It truly does. Today, you're in the right place. If you've ever, struggled to get your brain on the same page as your intentions, if you've procrastinated through something, anything, because you've been stuck to get to the next step, if you've ever felt overwhelmed and frustrated doing the same things and getting the same results, is that the definition of insanity, right? If you've ever felt uninspired with the same ideas. Anyone? I know that's me to a T. So today you're going to discover what happens when we get stuck, why we continue to get stuck and lose momentum, how to train your brain into cooperation versus resistance and doubt, how to generate better ideas easily and effortlessly, and how to reduce procrastination, overwhelm, and stress simply and effectively. And as a bonus, just letting people in as they come, as a bonus to everyone who sticks around until the end, you're going to get my 50 ways to be happier and resilient in business checklist. It's an in-depth checklist of what you could be doing on a regular basis to become more fulfilled and resilient, which is really what we need right now, isn't it? To be more fulfilled, happy, and resilient. I'm also going to give you a heads up on a program that I've got coming up for those who want to go a little bit further with me on their journey. All right, sound good? We are going to get on with it. Let's see here. Right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Brenda Kolasa, and I want to let you in on a little secret. You see, I'm a recovering, no, not alcoholic, not Trump supporter, not drug addict. I'm a recovering procrastinator. There, I said it. I am multi-passionate and I love a challenge. Anybody else here multi-passionate? Just put into the chat if you're multi-passionate. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. So I love a challenge. I built 5 businesses in my career, one that I'm still passionate about even after 27 years. So through procrastination, I discovered that I have a little bit of a wild side. You see, one of my passions is that I'm a visual brand expert. I develop marketing collateral for companies and organizations. And if you know the marketing world at all, you know that it's a heavily deadline-oriented industry. So the reason that I say that I have a little bit of a wild side is that I have this habit of waiting until the 11th hour before beginning any large project. Anybody else do that? Oh, it's kind of my thing. I used to think that I was more creative when I did this because when the crunch came down, I had no choice but to produce. I could not miss my deadline. And honestly, this is a technique all in its own, this deadline technique, which can be really effective if you're using it the right way. But if you're not, you do nothing but add more stress to yourself as you struggle to get through it because you're coming in cold without any idea of what you need to do. I know this happens to a lot of people. They have the intention to start something, and because they either don't have all the information or it's become so large, it's now overwhelming and nothing gets done. So it took a period of being completely burnt out, non-responsive, crying in the corner, only surviving off of autopilot, that I had no choice but to wake up and change my way of thinking. So yeah, I had to change the process of how I get things done, how I deal with stress and overwhelm, and basically how to save my sanity when I feel stuck. So that's part of what I'm going to talk to you about today is how I train my brain to become unstuck so that I don't get stressed at the 11th hour anymore. When I use small questions, that technique, I'm prepared, I'm inspired, and I feel way more in control. And I'm willing to bet that it'll help you too. So if you're good with that, I think we should continue. And for those that arrive late, thanks for coming. Just put in the chat any questions or comments you have. And you know what? It would be great to see where everybody's from as well. So put that in the chat. All right. So I just want to touch on what Kaizen is before we start, because this is how I learned about the small questions technique. Kaizen is a Japanese word simply meaning small steps for continual improvement. It's a philosophy that's helped me to be more confident, more focused and inspired, less stressed and overwhelmed, to create more enjoyment in my work, and achieve more of my business building goals. The philosophy of Kaizen became mainstream after World War II. It started with a man by the name of Edward Deming, who made a name for himself after revolutionizing corporate America with his philosophy about how business should be run. Deming's concept was that it was everyone's job to make continual and incremental improvements in everything they did. All the time, never ending, always improving. So Japan eventually heard about his work and invited him to help them revise their manufacturing facilities, those facilities that got annihilated after the war. In fact, Toyota was his first client, and they learned through Deming that by using very small steps throughout, they could improve their habits, their processes, and their products. Everyone from the top down had a part to play, and it worked. This modality and philosophy is the #1 reason Toyota rose once again to become a manufacturing superpower. So today, this methodology is used for large corporations and manufacturers. It's called, you may know it as the lean management. Well, it's just known as lean management. But what I loved about learning more about it was the simplicity of how this can work beautifully to actually hack the brain, to train the brain into creating resistant-free change. Because let's face it, there are many reasons why most of us resist change. It's hard. Think of your New Year's resolutions. Anybody here make New Year's resolutions anymore? I know I don't. So think of all those resolutions that you failed to stick to. I read that the average person makes the same resolution 10 years in a row without making any success. 10 years. Change in business is no different. Big dramatic goals and intentions are abandoned all the time. The bigger the change, the bigger the epic failure can be, and we end up procrastinating, laying down hard rules if we have staff or our team to get them moving forward, right? Motivated, or we just simply throw our hands up and settle for something more comfortable for everybody involved. And basically we end up stuck. Have you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day? Yes? See some heads nodding. Well, we often feel like we could be the lead of that movie when we're stuck, don't we? The same day over and over and over again. We feel like nothing we do changes. And when we have the same thoughts, the same actions, the same energy, it makes it next to impossible to achieve change-making goals, such as when we want to lose weight, when we want to connect with our kids more, when we want to create more followers, stand out in our marketing, learn a new system. Each big goal we have can create a lot of resistance and cause us to become overwhelmed if we don't put the right steps in place to be able to create that change. let's face it, the longer it takes to solve a problem and the longer we're stuck to make necessary change, the greater the cost and negative impact to our business. Delays cost money, right? Okay, I'm just going to go to the chat. Airdrie, Red Deer, St. Louis, Sylvan, St. Louis, Rhode Island. Awesome. That is so cool. Thanks for putting that in there. So when we get stuck, creative and innovative ideas can be really hard to come by. We have a hard time sticking to the habits that allow us to thrive and succeed. It's easier to get distracted for hours on end, right? We often end up full of doubt. Just letting some more people in here. Yeah, we often end up full of doubt and lack confidence. We lose motivation and passion for the things that we normally love, right? And it's mostly due to some sort of resistance happening up here. So what happens is that we then start to panic and command ourselves. We command ourselves to start feeling more confident, start producing and selling more, start to be more creative, start to be more visible, start to be better, right? Welcome everybody who's new. If you wouldn't mind just muting yourself, that would be awesome. And then we can ask some questions either in the chat or at the end. So what's the end result of continually commanding ourselves to do something? We end up just as frustrated and stuck as we were when we started, right? Isn't she adorable? Whatever. Okay, so here's a question. Have you ever tried to tell a stubborn child what to do? What happens? Arms crossed, feet apart, head shaking. You are not going to tell me what to do, right? Let's call her little Missy. Now, little Missy is a caring, heartfelt child. She loves to be a helper, to show you how creative and smart she is. She's also fiercely protective and stubborn. When she doesn't get her own way, she'll cause everything to come to a complete stop until she's happy again, right? Anybody who's a parent knows this. This is similar to the part of our brain called the amygdala, the primitive part that has one job only, and that is to keep us safe, just like it did years ago when we were in constant danger from predators. Well, it doesn't like to feel anxiety. It doesn't like to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and it definitely doesn't like being told what to do. So if little Missy senses any anxiety at all with you, that's our amygdala. That means she isn't able to have fun and will resort to whatever she can to distract you. Ever find yourself on Instagram and not know how you got there? You can blame little Missy for that one. Guilt and shame you. This is where would-haves, could-haves, and should-haves come into play. And she loves to cause doubt and fear over past failures, beliefs, and stories you've been told. She knows that these are going to keep you from doing wild and crazy things that get you outside your comfort zone, right? She doesn't want you to feel discomfort. She wants to protect you, even if it means that she's a little bit mean to you. What she doesn't get is that in order to grow, change is necessary, and so is being outside of our comfort bubble. So the next question is, how do we influence her? What we have to do is be careful not to set off any alarms, not to set off any of her alarms. Keep her happy, keep her sleeping. Because when you slam the door on a sleeping toddler, what happens? They wake up and they immediately start to scream, right? Well, this is what happens when we feel anxious, when we're in doubt, or we're overwhelmed by our choices. Little Missy wakes up and she sets off the alarm. Soon we find ourselves on Instagram for hours on end and not realize how we got there. Or we end up cleaning the bathroom, or we end up filing, or we end up on our phones when we know we should be focusing on this project or that project or something that's going to help to move the needle in our business. Does that make sense? Yes? Awesome. All right. So as we discussed, there are times when we need to make change in our business. And sometimes it can be overwhelming at first. One way to sneak by that little missy is with small, curious questions. Small questions can create a playful environment that opens the door to cooperation. And all of a sudden, little Missy is all in and she wants to play. Let's try this experiment. Tomorrow, ask your friend, write this down. Ask your friend what color the shingles are of her neighbor's house 2 doors down. What color the shingles are of her neighbor's house 2 doors down. Now you're likely going to get a funny look because chances are going to be pretty high that she won't know or that friend won't know. So now repeat that question for a few days. And by the 4th or 5th day, they're going to realize they have no choice. When they go outside, their brain is going to remind them that you're probably going to ask that question again. And all of a sudden, they're going to be forced to store the answer into their short-term memory. This is where what our hippocampus does. It stores messages and information through repetition by asking questions over and over again. It gives that brain no choice but to pay attention and to start creating answers and solutions. After all, our brain loves a challenge. Questions that start with who, what, where, if, and how, and when. Challenge the brain with curiosity. Sorry, I just had to double check that I'm recording this. To jump into action and cooperate versus being resistant after being told what to do. So if you were to say, tell me what the color of your neighbor's shingles are 2 doors down, it doesn't engage the brain as well as, what is the color of your neighbor's shingles 2 doors down? You see the difference? If you're a parent, you'll know that if you want to gain a child's interest, you ask questions such as, what is this? Versus just telling them what it is, right? Somehow we forget to do that with ourselves. So before I move on, I just want to ask you, which question's missing? Anybody know? Just put in the chat. Which question's missing? Why? Exactly. The why questions are missing because they can turn negative really quickly. And the brain will work very hard to answer those why questions. Why can't I do this? Why isn't this working? Why do I suck? If you ask questions like that, be prepared because the brain's going to answer them and you're not going to like the answer sometimes. So who couldn't use a little bit more of these things? This is where small questions work well. Engaging the cooperation of others, achieving hard to reach goals, getting past overwhelm and stress, coming up with creative solutions and becoming more confident. Who couldn't use all of these things? So would you like to see some examples? Yes? Let's go over some examples. So engaging the cooperation of others. Let's give an example of how this works if you've got employees or a team. Let's say you're managing people and you're frustrated about how little buy-in you've gotten from your employees to make your company the best in the business. Okay. You have meeting after meeting after meeting. You're frustrated by the lack of ideas and the silence that you get in return. After all, you want your staff to have input on how to save costs and make your company great, right? This promotes buy-in. Without buy-in, there is no positive engagement or cooperation to get you there. So employees get stuck just like everybody else, right? They get uncomfortable about how much pressure is landing on them. Requests that aren't in their job description. To have all of a sudden to need to think creatively on the spot, it's next to impossible. And you know what? When they're forced to, and the ideas that do come, they end up being expensive, they're impractical, and a lot of times they're disguised as complaints. Here's my ideas: get better equipment, hire more staff, offer more pay and more holidays. Those are the type of ideas that you're going to get. But you know what? Often all it takes for buy-in is a softer approach. When you can ask each employee to think of one very small step they can take to improve the process or the product, watch their minds suddenly light up. They light up into a solution-based way of thinking. When they only have to come up with a tiny small step, it's not so overwhelming and scary, right? This is exactly what Toyota did. Their employees were told to ask this question of themselves each and every day. In fact, management took it so seriously to the point where any factory worker was authorized and expected to walk off the factory line, pull an engineer into the conference room, and show him how by making any tiny change in the process or in the car's design could save 5 seconds on the factory floor, or 3 seconds, even 1 second. You know what? Those small seconds added up. They do add up big time, and it can help to create massive change, just like it did with Toyota. So what extremely small step can I take to improve the process or the product? Okay, achieving hard to reach goals. So you've got a hard to reach goal. If health were a main priority, instead of walking through the grocery store telling yourself, commanding yourself that you need to eat healthier, instead ask yourself, what's one thing I can pick up to support a healthier lifestyle for myself? You see the difference? Now your brain knows that you'd like its help trying to incorporate a healthier lifestyle. It's going to do its best to help you to do that because it wants to help. Little Missy wants to help, right? Other questions could be, if health were my first priority, what would I be doing differently today? What is one way I can remind myself to drink more water today? How could I incorporate a few more minutes of exercise into my daily routine? Small repeated questions will cause your brain to cooperate instead of resist. It sees those questions as a fun challenge. And soon you're going to naturally begin to bring a water bottle into the car and have it on your desk. Soon you're going to start to take more of the stairs than using the elevator all the time. Soon you're going to eat one less snack at night, one less puff from your cigarette, one less sip from your caffeinated coffee. It all starts with small steps. And enough of those small steps will emerge into a habit, a success habit, because it starts to become familiar instead of overwhelming. Does that make sense to everybody? Put in the chat if that makes sense or if nothing makes sense. Because I would really like to know where we're at. I've got one yes. You got it. Yes, it does. Okay, good. We are on track then. All right, getting past overwhelm and stress. Let's face it, when you're stressed in your work, it's hard to think of any next step, never mind the right one, right? Whenever you're facing stress, ask yourself small questions. What is one thing I could be doing right now that would take less than 15 minutes? Right? 5 minutes. If 15 minutes seems overwhelming, cut it down to 5 minutes. Keep cutting it down until you get a hell yes. Who could I talk to about how to save myself some time? How can I have more fun with this? Because that's the key, isn't it? If you're not having fun, it's not going to get done, at least in my experience. Coming up with creative solutions. Whether you've been in business for 20 years or 2 months, we all need to be creative and fresh with our ideas once in a while. So small questions can allow us to stay competitive and ignite new ideas and solutions. Questions to inspire creativity can look like this. What is one way I can increase my revenue by 5% this quarter? 5%, that's it. And if that's too much, go down to 1%. Here's another one. If I want to stand out and become more visible, what would I do differently this week? Or how can I encourage more engagement on my feed today? Right? Try and think about what it is that's got you stuck, and then create a small question around it. Becoming more confident. Anybody here not have confidence issues from time to time? Mine was about half an hour ago. Like, seriously, I've been doing what I do for over 27 years, and I still get caught up in the confidence game, you guys, thinking that I'm getting too old, I'm not being aggressive enough, I'm not growing in the right direction. When little Missy starts acting up, causing you to doubt yourself, remembering past failures, fears, and beliefs that stop you in your tracks, once again, small questions can change your thinking pattern. Okay, so if I could be 5% more confident, what would I do differently right now? Or what would I have to do differently? Whose confidence can I borrow to crush this? If this were my friend, what would I say to her? Right? A lot of this involves having to trust in yourself to make those decisions and follow your own path, not the path that little Missy wants for you. So, do you see how those questions can help you to think differently and get over some of those blocks you've been facing? They all work beautifully when they're direct and small. But there are times when small questions don't work. It's when they trigger fear. When questions or issues become so big that it wakes up little Missy and she starts to cry out in resistance, this promotes fear. Questions like, how can I become a millionaire? How am I going to be thin? How am I going to reach 1 million followers? Those are not small questions, are they? Those are questions that are huge and overwhelming. They're too big and too scary for our brains to wrap around. So instead of responding with playfulness, our brain shuts down and goes into protection mode instead. We end up doing things to distract ourselves, feeling guilty and causing doubt, just so that we don't feel discomfort. So keeping Kaizen small questions small and to the point can really help you to gain momentum again. Absolutely. But it doesn't mean anything unless you're open to receiving that information. You can ask all the small questions you want, But those answers and solutions don't just happen on demand, do they? There is a time when your brain is most creative. Have you ever had an amazing aha moment in the shower? This is when most of mine take place. It's in the shower. That's when I'm in alpha mode. And that's when I'm most creative. In the shower, going for nice walks, driving, just as you lull yourself to sleep. It's those times when your brain is at its most creative and when you get the best ideas. So if you're like me, you're going to end up having pads of paper and pens in every room in the house because those ideas and answers, well, they disappear really quickly, especially as you get older, right? I mentioned this in a mastermind I was doing, and one of my clients actually sent me an Amazon waterproof pad and pen so that I can put it up in my shower. It was awesome. So here's my question. I mean, I hope you've had time to think about this a little bit, but what is one thing lately that you've been stuck on? Your marketing, your sales, your company culture, having put in way too long of hours, night after night, day after day. Write it down on your sheet. I asked you guys to bring a pad to take some notes. I want you to write down one thing that you've been stuck on. Maybe it's your marketing, your sales, like I said, your company culture, whatever it is. Maybe you've been trying to start a book and you just can't get there. Maybe you've been trying to write a song, create a new system, a new campaign. You have no idea where to start, or maybe you've started and it's just stalled out, right? And you keep coming up empty, stalling, procrastinating. So I'm going to give it a minute so that you guys can write something down. All right, so here's your homework. You didn't think you'd be having homework today, did you? Ask yourself a small question regarding your problem before you go to bed tonight. Oh, we've got another. All right, I'll repeat that. Ask yourself a small question regarding your problem before you go to bed tonight. Ask it again in the morning and keep asking that question throughout the day. Soon, when you're receptively in alpha mode, you're going to get some pretty amazing answers. You're going to get some aha moments. You're going to be inspired to take that next step. And then when you get it, I'd love it if you'd email me or text me or reach out on social, whatever it is, and tell me how that worked for you. So now you know how to get unstuck, how to gain momentum, and get yourself out of resistance through the power of small questions. This is only one pillar that I teach, that I help my clients with to become more confident, more focused, and start achieving those goals that are going to create more joy, make them more money, and attract more of their clients. The other two pillars that I teach are called small thoughts and small actions. Each one is unique in its own, and they all work together beautifully for both myself and my clients. But don't take it from me. I want to show you what others have said as well. So Mary Lou, systems to keep her mind and business running smoothly has been very effective. Highly recommended. Amber, honestly, any program Brenda has just works. Candace says that now she has the tools to get started on a weekly basis. Helps her feeling to get out of overwhelm. Suzanne said she was procrastinating in every aspect of her life and was afraid to move forward. After working together, she learned some new skills and has a better mindset. Things have improved, but as with anything, it's an ongoing process. Brandy said that the program she was in helped to get her priorities in line as to what was important and what needed to get done. She said the Kaizen method is absolutely worth the money just for that. You won't be disappointed. It helped her to grow as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, and she became much more organized and a lot less stressed. So you showed up today because you wanted to discover how to train your brain into cooperating versus resisting. You wanted to generate more creative ideas, and you wanted to reduce procrastination, overwhelm, and stress simply and effectively. You also showed up today because you wanted to incorporate more joy in your life. If you don't enjoy the process, none of it matters because you end up frustrated, stressed out, overwhelmed, and on the edge of burnout, just like I was a few years back. What you learned today is just one way my clients have been able to do that and change their lives for the better. And I hope this was valuable for you. And for those that enjoyed today, I think that you're going to really love my new program that I mentioned. And if you can just stick with me for another 2 minutes, I just want to share that with you. So this is called the Clarity Unleashed Mastermind. It's a 5-class bi-weekly program that starts on the 28th of September. Type in the chat if you know what a mastermind is. Yes or no, because I'm curious if you know what's involved in a mastermind program. These are a little different than your normal group program. Got a couple of yeses there. So I introduced you to the magic of Kaizen small questions today. In this program, you're also going to learn about my other 2 pillars as well, those small thoughts and those small actions. So this program is for anybody who wants to become, more confident, think more creatively with more focus, achieve more of the goals that create more revenue and attract better clients, connect with their inner critic, that little Missy, and feel more fulfilled in their work. So this is what to expect. I just want to be transparent. Each session, we start with a guided rooftop visualization, okay? It helps to set our energy for the day. And I know a lot of clients, they still continue that rooftop visualization. They just love it up there. Inspired clarity on how to deal with your inner critic, feel more confident, achieve more of those goals, and feel more fulfilled in your work. You're going to have breakthroughs as you leap through resistance. You're going to build your creative thinking muscle and tap into one another's experiences, right? Hot seats. Masterminds include hot seats. Now, that's a scary term kind of for some people, but it just means that you get the floor. You get the floor to discuss any challenges, bring up any questions, and just talk about, brainstorm with others in the group. You gain their experience and you gain their wisdom, which can be amazing. And it's all integrated with Kaizen and other techniques that you can start to use immediately. These strategies have helped me to thrive over 27 years doing what I love to do, even through tough times. So if that sounds like you, the way I see it is that there's 2 choices, right? You can stay the course, come to terms with Groundhog Day, doing the same things you've been doing day after day. You can continue to procrastinate, starting goals that should help you grow in your business. And you can continue to be bullied by little Missy with self-doubt, distraction, and fear. Or you can fast track your results to start enjoy your business again. You can start to feel more confident and fulfilled working toward those goals that are going to make you more money and, attract more clients. You're going to gain the support of others as you share questions, challenges, and topics to solve. And you're going to learn with easy and actionable steps, tools, and techniques that you can carry with you for the rest of your life. And you'll be able to teach others around you, whether it be others on your team, your kids, your husband, your spouse, whatever it is. So here's the deal though, okay? I appreciate you showing up here today, and I'm giving you a deal that I only give to my VIPs. So instead of the $527 US cost, I'm going to offer this to you for $317. It's $200 off. You're not going to find this type of training anywhere else. As far as I know, I'm the only one that infuses Kaizen methodology into my masterminds. I'm selling it for a steal just so that I can get a few more testimonials before I really increase the price to what it's worth, which I think it's worth about $2,000. I am even throwing in one private coaching call as an additional bonus worth $127 on top of that deal for a retail value of $650. And you get it all for $317. So who could use some clarity right now in the way they sort out their thoughts, achieve their goals, how to feel more confident and fulfilled, how to think more creatively in your business? If you're seriously thinking about it, I have one more thing that I'm willing to gift you, but you have to commit today to put it over the top. I'm going to throw in my free download on how to use Kaizen to crush it in your business. It's valued at $97. That brings it to a total of $750 US for only $317. But the thing is, you have until the end of today to decide. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do what others do and give you 12 emails by the end of the day. I'm not going to do that. We're all adults here. And if you don't sign up, you'll miss out on this deal. Okay. So to get the ball rolling, I want you to write this down. Text me at 403-350-6595 with "I'm in," and we can start to see what that looks moving forward for you. This deal isn't even offered on my website. This is the best deal you're going to get. So fast track results to start enjoying your process again. Feel more confident and fulfilled as you work toward the goals that are going to help to make you money and attract more clients. Gain the support of others as you share questions, challenges, and topics to solve, and learn with easy and actionable steps that you can take throughout your life. So I hope this was valuable for you. I'm just going to back up one more time. No, I've got it coming. I hope this was valuable for you. I'd love to know your best takeaway. If you could put those in the chat for me, that would be awesome. And while you think of some, as promised, I'm going to give you the download that I promised you and put it in the chat. The 50 Ways to Be Happier and Resilient in Business Checklist. Now, let me just put that in the chat. Okay. Along with one more bonus that I am putting in there. And that is a 30-minute free call with me to discuss what we went over today. And maybe there's another tool for my treasure chest that will be able to help you as well. So your options are text me, "I'm in," or schedule a call. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And if you do decide that this mastermind is a good fit for you, as long as you book that call today, I will honor that price for you. So what's your best takeaway? And let's go over any questions. I would love to hear from you. Any questions? We're good. Best takeaways. Best takeaway, Kaizen small steps. Yes. And unmute yourself too if you'd just like to talk.
Hi, Brenda. This is Chris.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for coming.
Oh, this has been awesome. I love this approach. On your mastermind, is it just one mastermind, or is it a series of masterminds? And is there dates and times so I would know if I could be live?
So it is from 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, which is 11:30 Eastern Standard Time for 2 hours every 2 weeks. Okay, so it starts on the 28th, which is a Tuesday. I think I'm just double checking that. Yeah, Tuesday. And then it goes every 2 weeks after that for 5 sessions.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
I really like having that week in between just to give people enough time to really digest what we went over. And in between each session, we have little challenges, little success challenges. We also do a goal challenge. Okay. So if you're trying to, achieve a goal, I walk you through that and we support you and hold you accountable. You have an accountability buddy if you want it. And you actually start producing and achieving on that mastermind. Biggest takeaway, asking the small questions repeatedly until you hit the right time for the answer. Yes, I love that. Sorry, Chris, did I answer that properly?
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, it starts on the 28th, which is a Tuesday. It runs 2 hours in the morning. I'm just going to say Eastern Standard Time because most people know that. 11:30 to 1:30 Eastern Standard Time every 2 weeks. Any other questions or takeaways? We are good. All right. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you being here. I will send you your recording out afterwards and have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. It was great.
Thank you.